Knockout Legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So, after a pretty chocker full night of boxing, I'm going to give my own spin and view on everything. I'm not going to do post fight reaction on every video separately because I've already put videos on because I've done watch alongs as well. I'll be releasing them slowly but surely because there's a lot. But I'm going to do like an overall post review of each fight that I've watched and what I thought and the whole event in total. So the first fight was the Boatsy versus Callum Smith fight. I've already put up that video. You can watch it because I did a watch along because I watched it, but obviously I couldn't do it live, or so I released it as soon as I could after I watched the fight. But there was all them other fights as well, so you know I didn't have time. So I've already released it. It's there on the channel. But that fight, now that I think about it, when I watched it overall, my conclusion is that Boatsy was probably just a little bit short and he was a smaller man out of the two. Now, not saying that he couldn't have beat Callum Smith, because there were times where he hurt Callum Smith, but Callum Smith hurt him as well. So it was a kind of equal exchange. But I find that the experience what Callum Smith had saw him through the fight, the Canelo fight, and I think it's Bertobiev or Bivol, he fought. Them two fights there saw him through what it's like to deal with someone who's got good pressure, and that's kind of how he got through the fight. Plus he used his jab and his size in his height. That's stood him in good stead. And there was a few choice words because a lot of people were probably counting Mundo off because obviously he's not fought for a while and he's getting on, and a lot of people don't really like Scousers. I don't know why, but obviously probably the Irish connection as well, and obviously because they're mouthy. But I like Mundo. I like the Smiths. They're funny guys, good fighters as well. The game, do you know what I mean? Give you good value for money. They turn up to fight anyone, so you can't really blame them. You know what I mean? Good boxing family, all good for me. For UK boxers, English fighters as well, good pedigree, really good. Do you know what I mean? Besides that, barring all that, I wouldn't say it was an upset, but I kind of expected Smith to win. He should have won, but a bit disappointing in Boatsy. But I think he tried as much as he could. He's just not quite there yet. Maybe his opposition that he's fought is not good enough to actually give him that experience. Maybe he's not been pushed in the right direction. Maybe he needs to open his mouth more and be more vocal so he can get the fights what he wants. But hey, you're getting the fights now, so you have to kind of show and prove what you're about, and you've done that. But like, obviously you just come short. It is what it is, isn't it? You know, it probably could have went either way, to be fair, on the judges' scorecards. But me personally, from what I saw, he lost. Probably close 1 or 2 rounds, but he did lose. He did. Mundo's work was telling. He was just a little bit slicker, smarter boxer, pretty intelligent, good at holding on and hanging on, good at recovering. Just, you know, you've seen the veteran moves, you know, the experience. There's a big difference. You're just seeing it in total. So anyway, moving on, then the fight after that, I think it was the Hamza Shiraz fight with Adames. That was a strange fight because at the time I thought Shiraz, being the taller, bigger guy, should have been able to manage Adames, but apparently, as it turned out, later on at the end of the fight, we found out from Frank Warren he'd hurt his hand. He'd busted his hand up, so he couldn't really throw as much. But the way the fight ended in a draw was a weird thing, because for me personally, even though he's an English fighter and he did well, I think the Dominican won that fight. He won it. He won a draw. He definitely won. He did more of the pressing, the action. He was hitting cleaner shots. He was more aggressive. He forced the action. Don't get me wrong, Shiraz was punching on the back foot and he was countering, but he wasn't doing much he wasn't really busy. He wasn't doing that much. He wasn't really doing anything, to be fair. You know, he did enough to make it look like he was in the fight. But again, the other guy, I can see why he was a world champion. You see the big difference in experience between the two. You see it. You just see it's night and day. You know, again, close fight, I'd say, but I still think he did enough to win the Dominican Republic guy. Adames, I think is it Carlos Adames. About, I'd say a good 2 rounds we won that by. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, moving on to the next fight, which I think was it the Piccoli fight and and Parker. What can I say about that fight? There's a lot that was being said and already been said. I put a video up on that as well. I was a bit disappointed in Martin Piccoli because for all the talk and all the flim flam and all the bigging yourself up, you would have thought that now was the time to seize the moment, but he wasn't even in shape. And like I always say this, like sometimes I think certain boxers, especially heavyweight boxers, they want to be heavyweight so they don't have to diet down and they don't have to be in shape and they don't have to be fit. I don't know. I don't know how you can just think you can just turn up and get in a ring with someone that's professional, who's had a camp and who's been sparring, has been fighting other opponents, fighting top-notch opponents, fighting them back-to-back, fighting the toughest fights, you know, turning up sick and getting knocked out by Joe Joyce, you know, fighting, having rough fights with Derek Chisora, you know, getting knocked down, getting up, and then, you know, having rematches and fighting and beating them, and then, you know, fighting Deontay Wilder, everyone else such and such, you know, and people are writing him off, and, you know, he's coming back, he's more aggressive, he's more, you know, he's more fit, or he's more athletic. And even this version of Joseph Parker that was 19 stone, he didn't really look like he was carrying that much fat. He was carrying quite a lot of muscle. And there he was a big guy, because he always has carried a little bit of fat. But like the normal Joseph Parker we know, he's a lot trimmer and svelte than that. He's a lot slow. He's like a lot smaller than that. He's a tall guy. But in general, he's never that weight. That's a lot of weight, what he was carrying. But to be fair, in the fight, when I watched the fight, you know, I was saying he was moving a lot slower, but I think what he's realised is with some of these bigger guys, he needs that extra size just so if he gets hit, he can brace himself, and he's got that extra weight to you know, to move them about if to try and bully him and wrestle him around and then try and paw him and bully him. You know, he's kind of growing in more to this being a bigger guy, you know, the extra weight, but he's still pretty quick. Now, there's a few fights I want to see with Joseph Parker because I'm impressed with his run since, you know, his last loss and this row of fights that he's fought, and the actual energy and the way he's fighting. You know, we need to see him in a few more of the fights. Now, Ajit Kabiel just fought Zili Zhang. I forgot to mention that because I think I did a video on that. I'll upload that soon. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing Parker fight Kabiel because they're both movers and they're both good at boxing. So that's another fight I wouldn't mind seeing him fight. Also, I wouldn't mind seeing Zhang fight Piccoli because they're two big guys. And again, Zhang in that fight, I was a bit disappointed again. But again, he's a big guy. He always turns up big. The guy had to get gas and air after that fight because he ran out of steam. I don't know if something like someone was saying a lot of fighters were getting ill on the card, and same with the UFC, the virus was going around. So we don't know if his Zhang was ill, you know, because it looked like he was out of breath. But like it's the same thing in the I think it was the Hrgovic fight. He was gassed after about 6 rounds. He was gassed, do you know? But he did drop Kabiel. But again, Kabiel just moved, boxed, and then just good body shot, took his air, and then took him out. And like in the fight, I just saw Kabiel. He moved a little, but like even he was carrying a little bit too much weight for his size. Because I've always tended to find him a little bit slimmer than that. But I think he beefed up for Zhang because Zhang's so damn big. But he was okay in spots. pretty impressive. He did what he needed to do. He weathered the storm in the first round, stayed away from him, and then after that, once he got close, he could just pepper him with shots and just hit to the body. It was a good strategy because he took the air out of the Zhang's tires and just made him quit, basically. He just quit and ran out of air. He had to have oxygen on the ring side. So I don't know if he wasn't fit enough, or he wasn't prepared, or he was ill. He could be ill, who knows. But again, another good win by Cabiel. So Cabiel versus Parker, I wouldn't mind seeing. And then on the vice versa, Bacoli, if they're going to bring him back and he has a proper camp after he fights Anderson, he should fight Zhang. And same thing with Zhang. Zhang should have a good camp and recover and whatnot. Two big guys versus two big guys, and that's a good little scrap. See who's good. Do you know what I mean? To revive each one of their paths. So anyway, moving back on to Parker. Also, I'd like to see Parker revisit the Joshua fight, revisit the Dillian Whyte fight, but also I think he should have a shot at Alexander Usyk, because he deserves a shot. Out of every fighter, on every heavyweight on the planet now, he's the most in form out of all of them. Even Daniel Dubois, he's the most in form. And I will give him his dues, because when he told us that he fought Joe Joyce and he was sick, you could tell he wasn't the same, because he went at Joyce and tried to throw the kitchen sink at him and got knocked out. And he got knocked out in a way where he did everything he could. And I love that about the guy, who's warrior spirit. You know, he didn't need to fight Joyce. Now, personally, if he fought Joyce, I think he'd just wipe Joyce out. I think Joyce is finished. He's finished Joyce. I don't even know why he's still boxing, to be fair. You know, I think he should quit, me personally. He's had some tough fights. I think once he's got to that level where he thought he was, he's not actually at that level. And I think because of his age and the amateur fights he's had, it's kind of caught up with him. He's become old overnight. Them Zhang fights, the two Zhang fights, it just took so much out of him. Then the Derek Chisora fight as well. You know, he's not the same Joe Joyce we've seen. You know, he's not the same guy that fought Daniel. He just, you know, he doesn't look anything special, to be fair. And I know it's bad me saying that, because I do like Joe Joyce, you know, but hopefully he can revise his career with the Dillian Whyte fight and he can show us something. But I don't really see it, even though Dillian's jaw's not the best. I think Dillian's just going to rough him up, you know, and fight him on the counter foot and just hurt him, you know, because when Dillian's on form, he can fight. But again, he didn't look good in his last fight, Dillian Whyte, against Thingy Tete, and he looked out of shape. So if he's not in shape, he's gonna have problems, me personally. But anyway, moving on to the Beterbiev and Bivol fight. Now, I've done a watch along and that I'll release that soon, but personally, the result I was a bit disappointed in, and people are going, oh, but Bivol won it. Bivol, he didn't win the fight. He didn't. He wasn't even anywhere near as good as he was in the first fight. He was nowhere near as good as he was in the first fight. He's night and day. I understand why people say he won the first fight, but it was night and day. Beterbiev pressed the action, was hitting the more telling shots. He was the most aggressive. But Bivol moved, but he didn't move as much. He tried to stand his ground, but he got hit with a lot of shots. He wasn't even throwing, because again, I think he hurt his right hand. He was just using the jab. The only times I've seen in spots he was throwing shots and he was hurting Beterbiev or hitting him, but one shot out of 4 shots he's hitting. The rest are all hitting gloves or they're missing. So if you're going to score the fight based off who throws the most punches, but none of them hit the other opponent, and only one shot may actually get through, and then you call in that round that person's won, then I don't know what you're scoring. Because for me, the more telling, accurate shots that whipped man's head back and were hitting was from Beterbiev. He pressed the action as well. He was hitting with a lot of good body shots, good head shots. There was good movement, and he still took his time, and he actually started the fight a lot quicker than he did the first time. Plus, he held the ring a lot more. Bivol tried to do that, but then at points he got pushed back to the rope and was getting moved on the outside, and he had to move. This version of Bivol wasn't as good as the original version in the first fight. So for them to give the fight to Bivol like that, I'm not saying it was a setup, but the judges, either someone's had a word in the ear and said something, or they've done it in a way where it's been intimated that they should let Bivol win, so there's a third fight. And it's a bit fuckeries because you can blatantly see what Artist's face said after. He went, okay, no worries, because he knows come the third fight he's going to knock him out. He's going to probably look to knock him out in the third fight. So it's a good story and I get it, but like, he didn't even need to take this fight, and he took it because he even said in the press conference, I reckon if it was Bivol who won the fight, he wouldn't give me the rematch. And like, he's giving the rematch when he didn't really need to, but everyone said it was a close fight, and it was, fair enough. So he's given him. Now he's won. There's going to be a third fight. So again, we're going to probably see this third fight, and then we're going to see again another great card. It's great marketing, and if they have pushed it slightly to Bivol's way of being, so he can win if it's a little bit closer on the cards, then I understand it. But again, wrong decision. I definitely think Bertobiev won it. It was nowhere near as close as the first fight. And I know people are going to say I'm being biased, but I'm not, because I still think Bertobiev won the first fight, and I still think he won this fight. It wasn't even close. The first fight was more closer than this fight, definitely. But anyway, what are your thoughts on everything? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Hit the notification bell to get more of my videos, and like, comment and subscribe if you can. Share the videos. And this is another one from the one and only Knockout Legends. Peace.